There's a whole host of other issues that the gut is really often primarily involved in causing, and many people think of it as like a very secondary, tertiary, real intermediary, down the line cause. It might be the big top problem or a real big concomitant factor in unexplained weight gain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, acne, and ADHD symptoms or diagnosis. I have to be careful I don't get too far out of the thing. The number one cause of the rising epidemic of gastrointestinal or gut or digestive disorders that we see in America and really around the world. I'm going to use notes a little bit to keep me on point because I can go a little bit all over. I like charts and I like writing, and that I can't figure out the mirror is a little annoying, and the fact that I can only be this way, I don't think so much room, but that's okay. So I told you on Sunday or whatever that this week we'd talk about gut health. I have to deal with the gut a lot in practice. When you specialize in helping people optimize brain performance, you really can't do it without addressing the gut. It gets referred to the gut-brain axis, that these two are in intimate communication with each other. So this is your intestines and your brain. And often people refer to the gut as like the second brain. Some people take offense to that. The foodie people maybe want it to be the first brain. I'm not going to tomato you and chicken and egg you on this. Whatever. Then there's a whole other argument, yes, that the heart could be considered the first brain, but we're not going to talk about the heart that much this week. Gut, brain, that's what we're talking about, gut health. And again, it's really, really important to brain health. That's why I have to deal with it. So I had a post the other day and I said some unpopular opinions. I'm not going to cover all of those, but I'm going to cover some of the basics of things. Many people, you think of diarrhea, constipation, bloating, nausea, abdominal pain, GERD, which is gastric reflux, heartburn, ulcers. You think of that, oh yeah, that's a gut problem, right? That makes sense to people. Oh yeah, that's what we think of. There's a whole host of other issues that the gut is really often primarily involved in causing, and many people think of it as like a very secondary, tertiary, real intermediary, down the line cause. It might be the big top problem or a real big concomitant factor in unexplained weight gain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, acne, and ADHD symptoms or diagnosis. I have to be careful I don't get too far out of the thing. So a lot of these sound like brain issues, very, very obvious brain things. And then skin, right, ADHD, brain thing. So I have to look at a lot of people like, is that really what's going on with you? Or is it really the gut? Is it a brain issue? Is it a gut issue? Is it a gut issue? Is it a brain issue? Or are they together? I can't fix one without the other, so to speak. Well, turns out, just in general for the way Americans and how they self-identify, 80% of all Americans self-identify on little checklists that they have a digestive disorder. So again, it could be ranging from ulcers, chronic heartburn, chronic nausea, bloating, a lot of excessive flatulence, farting, right? To conditions that are diagnosed, such as irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. There's a whole host of things. Also included in that are food allergies, food sensitivities, gluten sensitivity, atypical and typical celiac, okay? So think about how much of this we're seeing, right? Those are just to name some of the big names, but they're really common now. And you can simply ask any school teacher who's been teaching 30 years, let's say, getting ready to retire, something at least 20 years, I'd say. They will tell you absolutely in the classroom there's been a massive change in children that have food allergies and food sensitivities and things like that, right? When I went to school, I didn't know anybody that had an EpiPen for anything. Now you're gonna have kids in classrooms with them, okay? So very, very different. Something is going on, right? What is going on with that. And not everybody thinks of food allergies necessarily as a digestive disorder, but it is, right? So really, what I'm going to ask you to consider is like, how did this happen? And this is the question I want us to consider. How did the food itself become inflammatory? Think of it that way. Not how broken your body has become. Like, how did the food itself become so inflammatory? Because that's what we're really kind of looking at. Because you can get to a point now, I have people come to me and they've had food allergy testing and food sensitivity testing, and like everything they eat, they're sensitive to, right? When you're left with like, I can eat 4 things on this list, and the rest of it I can't have. So everything I like, everything I eat every day, I'm allergic to. Well, I'm gonna cut to the chase on a few things. That's not really food allergies. That's a bigger problem. You're not really allergic to all those things. Not a fan of food allergy testing. That's an unpopular opinion. I wasn't meant to even say that, but this talk I think will explain why. So even though we're complex systems, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. Why I think the food has become I think the food itself is inflammatory now. So I'm going to say that. And I think it's for one big reason. One reason over all the other reasons. Okay. Other reasons are involved, but let's stick with one. There's a chemical that 5 billion pounds of it are consumed every year. That's a B. That's a billion. A billion like Bitcoin. 5 billion pounds of this chemical are consumed around the world every single year. This chemical poison is in 75% of all the rainfall. It's in 75% of all the air everywhere. Gotta remember, water is in air, you guys. Things are in air that you may not realize. So it is worldwide at this point. It's been found throughout the entire ecosystem of the earth because of streams, rivers, lakes, evaporation, rainfall, oceans, right? The earth is covered in 70% water, whether it's fresh or salt water. We'll just stick with that. And this toxin permeates all of it, all right? So I don't care if you're even eating organic and drinking organic, because it's in all the water and 75% of all the rain and 75% of all the air, you are going to encounter it. Now, the amount that you encounter it is different, right? But it's there. So even your organic food and drinks, even if they aren't directly sprayed, there is contamination with this poison. What is it? It's called glyphosate. And it is an unusual toxin that was created because it's a water-soluble toxin. The majority of these really harsh, dangerous chemicals that we have, things that are designed to kill things, are usually fat-soluble in some way. They're not usually water-soluble. So it's a very dangerous consideration when you can make a chemical whose entire purpose was made, well, I'll say it over in the next page. But what this was designed to do, if you have a planet that's 70% water and human beings that are 70% mineral water, structured alive water, it's a dangerous proposition to make something that does what this does, and it's water soluble. I think it is the #1 cause of, which you can see, dun, 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 dun. It's like that game with Pat Sajak and is it Vanna? What's it gonna be, guys? Leaky gut. Dun, 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 dun. That causes leaky gut. So don't be sitting around saying, oh, leaky gut's the big problem. Well, what causes the leaky gut? It's the glyphosate. It's this chemical. Okay? Fun times. So let's go through, like, why is this so bad for us, really? In simple terms, glyphosate was a chemical created by a company called Monsanto to go into their a product called Roundup. Its entire purpose was to kill life in the soil, so so people could make more money selling, growing crops to sell more and hyper growth. Hyper growth. So if we kill life in the soil, to guarantee that life won't try to attack the plant in any kind of way, we can grow more. We have to add fake things then, like fertilizers and more chemicals to the soil, because now the soil is dead. But let's still try to grow food, plants. Let's try to grow plants in dead soil, so we add more chemicals. But that's its purpose. It is to kill life in the soil. It does a great job. And I'm going to explain to you how it does it later, the exact pathway it does it. But it kills life in the soil. It also kills life in your gut. Dun, 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 dun. That's what it's doing, killing life in your gut. What I'm going to say is, in general, the principle here that I want you to consider is that we are sterilizing ourselves to death. You cannot keep killing things and expecting it's going to make you healthier. The idea was, there's bacteria and fungus and parasites in the soil that sometimes, they eat the plants. And the farmers need to grow more of their crops, to make more artificial fake food from, so we can have higher profits. And then we can sell more chemicals to counteract the side effects of killing all the life in the soil. So let's just kill it. Like, let's not come up with anything to help naturally the bacteria and the fungus and the parasites live in harmony in the soil with the plants in a symbiotic relationship. Let's just obliterate it. I want to A-bomb it, kill it. That's what glyphosate is. It's it's a mushroom bomb on the soil. Yep, that's what it is. And it's the concept that we can just sterilize and kill the microbes. That's going to make things better. It didn't make things better, but that's the idea. So let me go back. Well, we can stay here. So the best researcher, if you want like crazy science, I think Stephanie Seneff, PhD. She's a doctor, even though some people don't believe that's a real doctor and it's a fake doctor. She's a scientist out of MIT, several different degrees. She's not, none of them are in health, actually, but she does like computer algorithms and research and data, and she stumbled across glyphosate and what it's been doing to human physiology and learning disorders and the autism epidemic. So her research, it's mostly MIT based. It's sheer genius. She's the most definitive glyphosate person I've ever come across. So let me backtrack it so we don't get too far ahead. By killing life in the soil and then therefore killing life in your gut, what glyphosate ends up doing, it causes that leaky gut phenomenon, okay? And your leaky gut, what is that? Let's say it like this. You have an open tube to the outside world. This is the outside, and my skin and everything is protecting me from the outside. I am separated from the outside world and my inside world. They don't mix unless very specific pathways. Things should not get into my blood, only through a certain filtration system. If I breathe something in, I have my lungs to filter, I have nose hairs to filter things, I have mucous membranes, I have all kinds of things, the lungs, the alveoli, there's filtration systems. That's an open kind of, my mouth is like a open tube, and the exit point is my butthole. Okay, think of a garden hose, and it goes open here, and I can like drop a marble from one end of a tube, and it comes out the other end of the tube, right? Like when you play a game with your kids, it's a big garden hose. That's what happens. If you aren't supposed to digest and absorb the marble will come out your butt. in the poop, right? Now, if it's something you're supposed to eat and break down into a nutrient and absorb, the body will decide through the tube, there's little doorways, little tiny slits to say, oh, hello, B vitamin. Oh, hello, amino acid. You can come in. And then it's like a big thing. It's like, oh, you're a big, gigantic piece of fiber. We don't do anything with you, so you never come in the hole. Don't come in. Don't come in. They keep it really tight so big things can't get in. Keep it tight. It's called the tight junction. So you're not supposed to, supposed to have a strong boundary between the outside and the inside. Very strong boundary. And if something invades, things happen, and gets from the outside to the inside that really, oh, you don't really want it there, that's why you have an immune response. Your immune system's like, what's up, boo? You're not us. So I'm going to have to handle you and get you the hell out of my house. And they clean house. Sometimes they make you get a little fever, sometimes whatever. Like things cause a little bit of discomfort to slow you down and make you take a nap while it's cleaning up that toxin, poison that it doesn't want there. Because it's inside a space, we're like, we don't want you here. And it gets rid of it. That's its job, all right? So leaky gut is when the little doorways rip open way bigger than they should have been, all right? So that's the biggest thing I need you to kind of understand. Like that digestive system, it's a hose from the mouth to the butt. And if there's rips and holes in there, that's how you can end up with, how does a gut cause headaches? How does a gut cause acne, a gut problem? How does a gut, have foggy memory? That's why, because things leak through that never should have been allowed to get through. And then your body has to deal with a massive immune response and is wasting all its energy, quite frankly, on something it shouldn't be doing. And there's so much collateral damage to other tissue when that has to go on, right? So, let me go back here. So that's the two big ways glyphosate, it does two big things. It does three things. Let's admit, two big ways that glyphosate directly destroys your gut, this hose, this garden hose running through you, and makes it leaky. It kills healthy bacteria and fungus that are inside of you, parasites, that are supposed to be inside of you. It's called a biome. We're supposed to have a lot of things in there, and they help us, okay? This is why they're there to digest things for us, to make vitamins for us, make things active components for us, make them easy to digest. They modulate our immune system. They help make neurotransmitters. They help us stay thin. There's actually whole strains that do that. They help fight infections. So you want team bugs to be on point, communicating well with each other, and in really vigorous quantities and a whole bunch of varieties. So like everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, because you want a whole bunch of different kind, not just a few strains, all right? So that's the one job. Glyphosate kills it. So now they can't do it. Second part is it just literally punches holes through the hose, through the lining. It just punches holes. It makes huge doors, and it just rips it apart. We call it, these are tight junctions. They make them loose. They're no longer tight. They're ripped apart. Things get through this. It's pretty simple. Close the door. No one can get in. Open the door, and all the hooligans go do what they're going to do. That's what's actually happening. So when that happens, you lose the boundary from the outside world to the inside world, and the immune system has a kind of overwhelming job, and it becomes very hard and very chaotic. Kind of think like, Black Friday shopping. Think of like normally the store is fine, and for some reason on that weekend it's absolutely insane. Kind of the same thing. Too much is rushing through and it shouldn't be there. All right? The third way, right, this is kind of really killing us. I'll put it 3. The pathway through which this is doing, this is going to get a little bit deeper. So remember when I said it kills life in the soil and it kills life in the gut? It does it the same way. Glyphosate causes leaky roots to the plant systems, and there's no nutrients, can't absorb, things are getting leaky roots. It causes leaky gut, okay? Think of it that way. And the big mechanism by how it does what it does is it gets in an enzyme pathway of the plants to make proteins. So what ends up happening is you have to have amino acids. Amino acids are like little tiny things. Like, so here's little pieces, like little Lego pieces, and then you can stick them all together and you have enough of them and it's a peptide. Now you can randomly stick a peptide, and then a peptide, a bigger one, becomes a protein. I shouldn't have said peptide. Just think protein. Amino acids, little Legos, put them together, makes a protein. Now, you can just put a whole bunch of Legos randomly together and they just make a long stick of nothing. Or you can have some rhyme or reason and put the exact one into here and the exact one into there, and you have like a, Star Wars craft or little baby Yoda or something like that. You can make an actual very specific recognizable thing out of those Legos, or you can just make a thing that's just like, I don't know what that is, but it's like, it's a bunch of Legos put together. Well, that's what kind of happens in plants. So glyphosate has gotten so deep on what it's done by killing the soil and the method of which it does it. Any plants that are growing now in glyphosate sprayed soils, it ends up, they come in there and they mess with the enzyme pathway of how the plant can make its own proteins. So it's kind of like dyslexia of proteins. So imagine I asked you to spell the word tomorrow, but I say, okay, but you don't have any M's, R's, or W's because I put glyphosate on you and you can't make M, R's, or W's now ever again. So every word with M, R's, and W's you don't have, but you need to make a protein anyway. You're going to write tomorrow anyway. So you're like, well, I'm still going to write it and it is what it is. So now you end up with a bunch of words that should have M, R's, and W's, but don't. Massive dyslexia protein production here. So now you have all these plants with these tangled, with misshaped, folded. So when a word looks weird, like tomorrow, we take those letters out, you're like, I don't really know what that is. That's what happens in a protein. It's like, I don't really know what that is. If you eat the plants with these weird, messed up, dyslexic proteins, your body is like, I don't know what that is. These don't have the right letters. We don't have the right essential amino acids in this stuff anymore. It's a protein that's folded wrong, twisted wrong, all screwed up. The body doesn't know what to do with it. And then you know what happens with those amino acids that make the folded wrong, misshaped, all weird, jacked up proteins? They have a higher propensity to go get entangled in your brain. And entangled, misshaped proteins, this isn't me, this is research, very clear. It's the pathophysiology of Alzheimer's disease, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, and a bunch of other stuff that goes on. So just eating the food now that's growing in the dead soil that gets a signal from glyphosate that is genetically modifying it via a breaking down an enzyme pathway that basically gives all plants dyslexia on how to make a protein. You're eating misspelled proteins that are missing things, spelled wrong, and don't actually look like what they're supposed to look like. And your body's like, I'm not really sure what this is, but I'm gonna do the best I can with it. And it should be like a ball, but it's like a this and a square. And they're like, I'm gonna try and fit the peg in the square. I don't know what to do. And they get caught, folded up, and stuck in stuff. Lodged in your brain in what we call plaques. Sounds awesome, right? All glyphosate. Okay, so what can you do about it? Because you gotta breathe, it's in the air. You gotta drink, it's in the water. You're gonna swim, it's in the rivers, the lakes, the streams. It's on all the food, basically. Now, you can eat less. You can be exposed. This is a massive reason why going organic and or local is hugely important, because chances are your local farmers, your local community supported agriculture, they may not have organic status, but they are small farmers. You can talk to them and and say, hey, do you use this chemical? And they got to tell you, right? So I prefer even local usually to organic, because organic doesn't even mean it's really organic. Like every California organic wine has tested positive for glyphosate. It's in the rain. They're not lying to you. They just can't control that, okay? So Number 2, avoid using any weed lawn killers. Again, this was started from Monsanto's Roundup, and it's to kill weeds. It's still sold in every hardware store. Every lawn company is still using it. So if you're spraying your lawns with this and using it everywhere, I know it's fast, I know it's easy, but it is contributing to the 5 billion pounds consumed per year. We are not going to clean this up if we don't stop using it. It's not just Monsanto now. The majority of this is made off patent now from other off-label brands coming out of China. But every individual choice you make makes a difference. It exposes your children, yourselves, the shoes, what comes in your house, your pets, right? It makes a difference. So I would definitely try to do that. Make sure I have my suggestions down. Again, and please consider natural lawn care. You know, if whoever's doing your lawn, ask them not to use that. Can you use something else? That kind of thing. Then the thing that I add that to me, there is nothing else like this on the market. I learned about it years ago at a conference from Zach Bush, MD. You can look it up, but he owns this company. It is what I use, is Ion Biome. And it is this massive, what is it? It's a carbon-based molecule. Basically, I'm going to do it real simple. I'm going to take it. I don't like to measure things, so I suggest you just get that. And I just did that. What did I just do? I ingested a teaspoon of this. It's going to do 2 significant things. It's going to create a firewall along my entire intestinal tract where it's going to zip up the tight junctions and keep them that way for 4 to 6 hours. This junction is so tight now from this. Glyphosate, if I ingest it, cannot punch holes. It's a firewall. You're done. It's a safety, it's Fort Knox, you cannot rip through, okay? Then it also basically gives all the bacteria in my colon a cell phone and allows everybody to talk to each other clearly again. Oh, hey, what are you guys doing? We're over here. And they can all now talk to each other. It's a communication signal. So it's a carbon molecule. It's called a redox signal. Doesn't matter. Where did it come from? Scientists went into the earth 60 million years ago. They found soil that was 60 million years old before we destroyed everything with chemicals, before any big meteorite made some massive changes. You know, if you think like this is the healthiest topsoil with the greatest number of microbes in it, that would offer the healthiest microbiome for humans. And it's those bugs, it's the signal that they use to talk to each other. And that's what it is. So it's going back in time before we have done what we've done to the planet and before we killed the soil, and giving the ability of what's trying to work with you able to do its job. It's not a probiotic. It is not sprinkling on like excessive crazy amounts of a strain that's out of harmony of nature that you would never find that way. It's allowing what's already within you to start regulating itself again. Create a firewall to more poisons and toxins, start healing up that leaky gut. After time of taking this, once you heal the leaky gut, remember it's a gut-brain connection. You tighten the gut, you tighten the brain barrier as well. If this stays too leaky too long, this becomes leaky as well, and that's a whole other issue. So this is what I use. You saw me probably put it in my morning drink. Take it 3 times a day. I do have a link in my store. I've been using Ion. It was called Restore. Okay, you guys, so many people have seen me say videos of Restore, and it had a little different look to it. There's also a sinus spray, super good right now for allergy season. Same thing, but it's creating, and it tightens the junctions, again, keeping the boundary between outside world and inside world smaller, and creating the microbiome of the sinuses to be healthy. The majority of sinus problems are actually fungal problems, but they keep always giving antibiotics for it, making it worse. So it's kind of, and again, sinuses, that's the blood-brain barriers right up in there, you guys. So Ion Biome is the best thing that I have ever found to do it. It basically allows stop the damage of the glyphosate, and as long as glyphosate is still on Earth, you should be taking it. You get 4 to 6 hours of protection with every dose. They have small convenient travel packets you can take with you. There's nothing else like it on Earth. I always start with this, before I ever recommend any type of probiotic for any reason in my practice. I will use them therapeutically, but I think for the most part, no one should be taking a probiotic every day. There's no reason for it. Once we get the flora balanced and specific for you, because your microbiome is an expression of your local environment. It is being informed by what you breathe, by what you touch, by what you eat, by what you drink. I say inform it correctly, protect it from glyphosate, and allow what's in there to use its innate intelligence and the wisdom that it has to work with you to help protect you, because your biome wants you to stay strong and stay well, because it needs you to stay alive for it to stay alive. Those billions and trillions of species of living creatures, they want you healthy. We made an agreement with them to keep us healthy so we can protect them from the outside world. And glyphosate is actually destroying them, and they're not happy about it, and they're not doing well either. So I say we get team microbiome going again and add the iron gut health. There's a link on my store. That's about it. I think it's our biggest thing. That's the biggest problem, is that we need to address glyphosate, and too many people are obsessed with food allergy tests or adding this probiotic or adding that. And I'm like, let's start with the big problem, glyphosate. Because I don't care what you do, if we don't address that, none of it's going to matter. And remember, yet again, when you eat those foods that have altered protein structure, that are growing in the soil that's destroyed, that's what you're making your proteins from. It's yet another reason why I think plant protein is a really, really bad idea. Hope that is helpful. I went super long, but hey, that's how we roll. I don't know if there's any real questions. I'm going to say, how long does the soil that has been sprayed test positive for glyphosate? That's a good question, life in the dog pile. It's water soluble. I'm not sure how long it lasts. That's a really interesting thing. But I will say, there's a dead zone so bad, life in the dog pile. It says, how long does it last in the soil? Don't know. Don't know how long it lasts in the water. I don't know what its half-life is. It's a good question. But I might post this week about it. There's so much. So our rainfall in America comes all to the Mississippi River. So 80% of it comes into there. At the end of the Mississippi, there's it's got dead zone where that water comes out the delta, because nothing can live there now because of how much herbicides, pesticides, and insecticides and fungicides have flown into there, and it's primarily glyphosate. So it has devastating effects all over the place, and nothing can live there now. It's a great question. I know I went a little bit long. Yep, amino acids are building blocks of proteins. I'm just reading any question if there's something that I might... Yep, this is why it kills your microbiome. So again, yeah, that's a teacher just said retired from middle school, and the obesity rate is, yep. And a big part of it, again, it's coming down to, it's a number of reasons we won't get, but we cannot ignore glyphosate. I know we all want to, it's sexier to talk about high fructose corn syrup, and high fructose corn syrup is a poison. Seed oil, that's a poison. Blood sugar, all of these things are important. And everybody just wants to talk about, collagen and bone broth. And I love collagen and bone broth. Love it. Helps heal the gut. But if you don't stop the glyphosate some kind of way, you're just going to still be pouring bleach on the problem while you're trying to keep putting stuff to fix it. That wasn't a great analogy, but I'm getting tired. Just kidding. Okay, let me see. I think that's it for the questions. I think that's all I see. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And I like writing things, so I hope you enjoy it as well. Glyphosate is the problem. We got to do what we can. Starts at home, one step at a time. It's tasteless. You can get your kids to do it. My pets, you can use it in your garden too, by the way, that's your garden grow, because it puts life back in the soil. And it puts life back there. It puts life back into the bugs, right? But I can help you. Send a message or DM us, and we can also help with dosing. And it's really important to use the frequently asked questions on that. But this is a non-negotiable in my practice. Everybody has to be on it, or you can't be my patient. And that's just how it is. Now, we might dose you differently. That works. But I mean, I'm talking to the point, breastfeeding mother should put some on her nipple and let the baby breastfeed so baby can get it in. That's how important this is. All right. And that's how safe it is. See you guys.